Every day, millions of Americans rely on public transportation to get to work, to school, and to essential services. But for too many, access to reliable and affordable public transportation is a luxury, not a necessity.
It's pretty.
These are the voices of communities across America, united by a common goal: transit equity. We envision a nation where everyone, regardless of their income, race, or disability, has access to safe, reliable, and affordable public transportation. Together, we can build a national network that connects our communities, strengthens our economy, and creates a more just and equitable future for all. We are the Transit Equity Network.
Hello, 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 and happy National Train Day. My name is Bacardi Obama. I thank you all for joining me for the second installment of the Great Train Trip series. I thank you all for joining me again. Definitely feel free to comment in the chat if you'd like. I'll read your comments aloud. Definitely, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and I will answer them along as well. Also, I failed to mention this on the last episode from last time. My Cash App is scrolling along the bottom. It's $ Transit Equity. If you'd want to support the movement that we have going on at the Transit Equity Network and the work that we do, definitely feel free to donate, especially if you like the content. Definitely feel free to donate us to the organization so that we can bring you more of this, also bring you more work and more assistance for all of your organizing needs. We greatly appreciate it. But yeah, I wanted to get into this for what we're going to do today. I won't be on here long. I've got a meeting at 1, so I'll definitely run through this as quick as I can. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I'll drop my email later on in the presentation. But I'll get to go over to my lovely trip to Europe. I went interrailing around Europe, which is what they call it over there, where I rode the trains around and I have a lot to learn from, and America has a lot to learn from. So I'll go over that. If there are questions, in the meantime, we'll do that. And from previous coming attractions, I wanted to do this today, but because time won't allow me to, we'll get to it another day. I wanted to do National Train Day superlatives and basically just kind of rank all my trains that I've seen so far in this life, where they are, where they should be. So we'll do that another day and then we'll close out. If you haven't followed us on all of our social media networks, Facebook at the Transit Equity Network. Shout out to everyone who's watching us on Facebook or watching the playback on Facebook. Twitter and Blue Sky at Transit Equity In, and YouTube at Transit Equity. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel and click the notification bell so that you will get all of our notifications as it comes along. Who am I? Bacardi Obama. My name is Bacardi. I'm the Executive Director of the Transit Equity Network. Again, if you'd like to email me for any kind of work, if you need flyers done, if you need somebody to speak at your organizing rallies or any kind of thing that you have going on that's transit and transportation related, email me at transitequitynetwork@gmail.com and we'll get back to you. Also co-founder of the MARTA Army. If you're in Atlanta and you want to do any work with us, definitely hit us up at themartaarmy@gmail.com. The vision for the Transit Equity Network is we envision a world where public transportation is equitable, affordable, reliable, and safe for all. And I mean this with not even just with it being National Train Day, but we really need in this day and age transportation that we can really depend on and that doesn't cost an arm and a leg to get around. I know this is definitely coming after the news of Spirit Airlines going under. And while it's really sad, it really points out the need for better transportation in this world and definitely in this country. So hopefully that's a signal that they could maybe possibly switch to trains. But who knows? But why are we talking about this? Well, because it's a public transportation is a great way of reducing our carbon emissions. So the mass and mass transit is using a transportation that carries mass amounts of people. So if your city's hosting the World Cup, that is going to be a huge test on how well your public transportation system works. So let's get into this. So like I said, I went to Europe. Now, originally, this was a trip that my friend planned to Copenhagen, but I figured if I'm going to one country, I might as well go to multiple countries. And Europe allows you to do that. So I wanted to just kind of show how easy it is, but also show just kind of the different trains that I went on and how they compare to Amtrak. So a lot of this is going to be really a comparison point to the Great American Train trip that I did a few months back on Amtrak. Main question is taking the train across Europe a great way to travel, or is it just a way to travel? Now, if you've traveled around Europe, you know that there's multiple ways to get around. You could fly. There's, like America, there's a lot of discount airlines around the country. So it's not just with train of getting around. You can get around by flying, by driving. There are a lot of private bus companies that run around. Of course, there's so many train companies, and we'll get into that because there were a lot of. I didn't take just one. There were multiple train companies I took. There's even ferries that you can take between different countries. So Europe also isn't a stranger to a lot of what's going on right now in Iran. They're also suffering from the oil crisis, I guess we can call that, to where they've also had high prices and also had to cut down on flights because of the situation that's going on in Iran. So that was a concern of mine because I needed to get back home. that I think that's kind of the downfall for Americans is that, well, we can take the trains over there, but as far as getting to Europe, we have to fly. Unless you take a cruise line, which is why I guess that would be considered a ferry, but that's a long while. So where did I go? I flew into London Heathrow from Dulles. I took Eurostar from London to Amsterdam via Brussels. In Brussels, I changed to another train, so you'll see pictures of that. I took the Intercity Express, they also call it ICE, from Amsterdam to Berlin. Ironically, they just opened that train line as a direct service from Amsterdam to Berlin. Then I took ICE from Berlin to Copenhagen, and then transferred to another train called the DSB from Hamburg to Copenhagen, and then I flew back from Copenhagen. So now the difference between this and the Amtrak trip was I had a little bit more time with these cities. Like every city that I went in, I actually was able to spend more than 24 hours in it. So it was pretty. You got a bit of flexibility, and also because, and you'll see on this next slide, you could get between a lot of these cities much quicker than you can with America. To get from London to Brussels was a little less than 2 hours. And that was going in the only tunnel that goes under the only train tunnel that goes under that I think there's a channel between the UK and France. So, but if you can see from this map, I don't know if it's even possible to see that you can get between a lot of these cities pretty quickly. And they also have a really expansive network, and they're actually adding on to it. I've seen a lot of articles where they're actually adding service. I saw a direct train going from Berlin to Prague. I saw Italy's expanding routes. Spain is expanding routes. They're really adding on to this network. So it's not just kind of a like we set it and forget it like America, to where they're not really adding as much service. Which shout out to Metro in LA. They actually just opened the extension of the D line, which what they now called it. It used to be called the Purple Line, into over to Beverly Hills. So that'll be a great addition to the subway system. But again, like with America, that's probably like the the last time a subway expansion has been done is probably the Silver Line to Dulles in Virginia. But as far as like actual rail, like the Mardi Gras line or the Borealis and from Chicago to St. Paul, but I digress. And you're gonna get a lot of stations that look like this. Like Europe had a lot of big, larger than life stations. And you'll see that on the trip and in a lot of these slides of how massive these stations are. And some of them really were intimidating. So that's just kind of something to keep watch of and to really make sure that you're going in this with like the clear mind, clear conscience that hey, it may get hectic, it's crowded, but you can get through this. I think I should get to the slides, so I'll take that down and we'll put up the trip. So trip started with me leaving out of Baltimore, and I took the Northeast Regional from Baltimore to DC. Now, this was probably the only inner city train I took to get to the airport. Now, it's good that I was able to take this because you I was originally going to fly to JFK, and I'm glad I didn't. I found a better flight out of Dulles, so I'm like, oh, I can travel across to Dulles. And like I said, with the extension of the Silver Line, it was easy for me to do. So I took this to Washington Union Station, and then I took the Silver Line over to Dulles. And it was a little over 2 hours, but hey, it was worth it. So flying into London, the flight was 6 hours. What I recommend to people is just take a red eye, because if you get on at night, you basically get into London in the morning. Once you got out and you got through customs, you got options. So I think what has been said to a lot of folks, like if you're trying to get to central London, to take the Heathrow Express. Now the Heathrow Express is a little bit more expensive. And I think that might be like, I will say this. Don't rent a car. Renting a car is expensive. London also has congestion pricing zones. So just like New York, it's going to cost you if you want to go into central London. What I ended up taking was the Elizabeth line. So it's the cheaper of the transit lines. And you can actually transfer. So like say if you're going to somewhere else, it's a great alternative. Now, this is something you're gonna have to get used to on the London side. They call this queuing. Now, queuing is essentially just waiting in line. Now, this was the line just to get onto the elevator, which they call lifts. I think this was this, and then I think there was another station in Istanbul that was like this as well, where you had to take an elevator down or up to the platform. I forget which one it was. But yeah, you're gonna have the waiting crowds, especially coming out of Heathrow. But yeah, this is essentially what you have to deal with. But when you got on the trains were nice. Now this was something I had to get used to, was pressing the button to get off the train. You'll definitely see who the tourists are. Not even just with this line, because most of it is tourists coming from Heathrow, but you'll see which ones are tourists based off of who hits the button, who doesn't. Then I got into central London. So this is the tube. That's the subway system. Now those trains were long and expansive. There were even some spots where they told you had to move through the trains. So it was great that they had these long trains. Most of them had open gangways, so you can just walk through. So if like one part of the train is crowded, then you can just go to another part of the train. Which a lot of these trains were absolutely crowded. But once I got in, I got to London. So If you've never seen London, this is what a typical London street looks like. Um, Now I will say this about London. London kind of gives New York energy in the UK. That's what I can say about London. That was my first time in London. This was the station that I was staying near. This is Victoria. It's not only a regional station within the UK. I think there might be international trains here. I'm not sure. But this is also like if you decide to take a bus out of Heathrow, some of the buses come here. So that was also another option that I could take. But this is kind of from the top. It was divided into like two parts of the station. There was a mall on one side of it, so there were shops, and then there was a whole food court. And then this was like the concourse for the station, so you can get tickets. You could go to board your train in different parts of, and then of course you can get on the tube here. So it was literally a true blue transit hub. This is what I was talking about, like one of the signs where they'll tell you to move along to the train to exit because some of the stations, um, some of the trains are longer than the platforms of the stations. So if you do have trains with open gangways, you'll have signs along the walls telling you to move along. This is Paddington Station. This was actually where I had to transfer to go to another line. Um, but here's some of the national trains that they have. Some of these trains are really beautiful. And here you can see the Paddington Bear sign. So the Paddington Bear, which this fool was everywhere. Like they really try to play up Paddington Bear. It was insane. These are the double decker buses. These are cool to ride, and you'll see a video later on where I actually rode on the top of one of them, so you can see like kind of a point of view from riding at the top of one of them. But they were nice. One thing to note, like a lot of them were like 100% electric. Like they were fully electric, and I think that's something to really be said for a lot of advocates with saying, why can't we have frequent buses, but buses that are also much cleaner? London is well on their way to doing that. There's also some spots where you can really see that they're expanding onto their network. This is Euston, north of central London. It's one of the current train stations they have, and they're really expanding onto that. So you can really see that they're doing a lot of work on this. If you're visiting London and you're a club type person like me, I would definitely look at this map. London's one of the very few places where they have 24-hour service. So there are some tube lines that run 24 hours. So definitely check on this. As you can see, if you can kind of make out over here, the Central, the Jubilee, the Northern, the Piccadilly, the Victoria, and the London Overground all run 24/7 on Friday and Saturday nights. So definitely something to think about if you do want to go out of where you should locate. Other than that, if you don't do that, then staying out in like the other zones, like zone 3, 4, 5, is fine because the tube goes all the way out there. I think the London tube is probably one of the most expansive networks I've ever seen in my life. Like it was huge. It was a lot. There was a lot going on. Here's a video of the point of view. So this is me at the top of one of the double deckers. As you can see, these double deckers were everywhere. Mind you, that was around like 11 o'clock at night. So I was literally on my way to go cut a rug and go have a drink. So it was good that, they run that late. But this is one of the bus stops that I don't know why it's still playing. Um, this is one of the bus stops at Piccadilly Circus. Piccadilly Circus is kind of like the Times Square of London. So you can get on pretty much, I want to say, there's a lot of buses that go through there. So And there's a big club district over in Soho, so this is definitely a spot to get on one of these. The night buses will be at the bottom, so definitely look out for these. This is a mistake I made of thinking that these were running, but these were not running. These are running. And then, of course, like a lot of the signs will tell you in what direction they're going. Definitely look out for those. This is what I was talking about. This is one of the trains that ran late at night. I think I was on this train around, I think I can make out 2:39 a.m. So as you can see, the trains were still running and running frequently, might I add. Like this was amazing. Now, if you can see the trains, there are different tube trains, but these trains were kind of the most interesting ones because they kind of sloped. Which I wish I put this picture in of me kind of putting my head against it. These trains can get packed. These trains will get packed. It no matter what time. This is Victoria Station again. One of the things that I found here that I did not find anywhere else was a water fountain. Something to note if you're American and you run around with water bottles. If you find a water fountain, keep it and know where it is because you could just easily refill it. That was probably the only one I found until I got to Sweden. A must if you go to London is the London Transport Museum. I learned so much about the history of London, about their transportation, like how it came to be, like how the omnibus was started, and just being able to just go through the history, look at like some models of different trains, as well as with advertising of these trains was really interesting. So definitely a huge bucket list if you can. Now, if you go and you get the ticket, you can get that ticket and you can go as many times as you want for the rest of the year. And I think that's really amazing because I think with the Transit Museum in New York, that you get that one ticket and that's it. But so if I end up going to London again, I can go again. This is how packed the London tube trains can get. As you can see, there's really not much room. And then you can see kind of the slope again. Also, I've learned that there's no air conditioning on these trains. So take note of that if you go in the summer. And this is when I was departing. So I left and went to Victoria Station, Walton side. Now, if you can see, like it's definitely like a transportation hub. So because you have rental car companies here as well, and then like I said, like it's also a bus depot as well. So you had like a lot of national buses that go across the UK. I think there may be some that go across the tunnel to the mainland of Europe. But it was really cool to see like a lot of this come together. We can just move on from that. And then, of course, we got into Victoria Station again. I don't think that's going to play. Or is it not? Okay, I think that's it. So that was London. Now, tips with London. Tap to pay is best for public transportation. I tap to pay everywhere. Matter of fact, I honestly didn't use any of my pounds. So yeah, you can bring like actual hard cash there, but it's highly unlikely you'll be able to use. Highly unlikely you'll need to use it. But tap to pay is best. Like I said, book as close to a major transportation hub as possible so that you can access the city, the rest of the city quicker. Again, check the 24-hour transport network if you're going to be doing things after midnight. Now, as far as like getting to the mainland of London, or if you're going anywhere internationally from London, get to St. Pancras Station, which you'll see soon, at least 24 hours, not 24 hours, I'm sorry, at least 2 hours in advance. You want to make sure that because you're going to have to go through customs because, of course, the UK is no longer a part of the European Union. So it's like going from one country to another, even though you are. But yeah, make sure that you got your documents all together. Tube etiquette. They really do enforce this on the tube. stand to the right if you're standing, stand to the left if you're walking. They will move you out of line if you get out of line, because they don't play that over there. And they walk fast and they walk with a purpose. Like I joked about it, saying I was like, oh, they on a mission. I said that about London and Amsterdam. Like it was a rush going to a lot of these places. But yeah, let's go into the next part of this, which is, I'll take that out, and getting to the mainland. So this is St. Pancras Station, which is London's, I want to say one of their international stations. But this is essentially like if you want to go to the mainland of London or any other country, these are where you get on the international trains. It's accessible by the tube, of course. But so customs, I got through customs in 20 minutes. It's all right. It was all right. But once you got past customs, like their seating area was really cramped. Now, this was Monday morning, April 20th. So a lot of people were, I guess, this whole going to hang out in London, and then going back to wherever you are is really popular. I don't know why this video is not playing. But I have a picture after. This is how packed it was. So seating is kind of limited. So just be aware of that. So you see these escalators that go up. Those are going up to the platforms. So you can see we went up the platform once they called our train. I don't know why these videos are not playing. So the first train that I took was Eurostar. Now, these are one of the high-speed trains of Europe. So as you can see with this, they're numbered based off of what number you have. So when you book these trains, you're assigned a car number. And in some reservations on some really busy routes like London, Amsterdam, London, Brussels, those are really busy routes. I almost compare it to the Northeast Corridor between DC and Boston in America. So these are the routes where you really do need to reserve a seat. There's just no getting on and just willy-nilly like on the Northeast regional trains. Yeah, you're gonna want to reserve a seat because these are really big on-demand trains, and a lot of people travel these routes. So you want to kind of make sure that you're going to the right car and that you're also going to the right seat. This is more video that's probably not going to play, but as you can see, this is the Eurostar train. I think these are also Eurostar trains. Hopefully this is not going to be the case for the rest of the video. But here's an example of what I had to do because I wasn't aware of this. So I had to book a trip from Brussels, which you'll see, to Amsterdam. Now, this was open seating. And I took a train called the Eurocity Direct. So they kind of do direct service between a lot of these different cities. Now, the whole thing I got this through was called Eurail. Now, Eurail is kind of the equivalent to the USA Rail Pass with Amtrak, where you can buy a pass and it's kind of an unlimited thing you can take as many trains as you want between like a certain time period. So I bought one for seven days. So what that meant was that for 7 days that I could take as much unlimited travel as possible. So once I activated this ticket today, when I left London, I was able to take as many trains as I wanted. So if I wanted to go to Copenhagen, I could. If I wanted to go to Italy, I could. If I wanted to go to Spain, I could. If I wanted to go to Greece, I could. Anywhere within the Eurail system, which they cover a lot of trains. They cover the Dutch Bahn trains, the Eurocity, Eurostar, a lot of trains. So that's definitely something that was really helpful. So this is how it looks once you activate it. You basically just have to slide this over. And this is all in an app. So everything is done in an app. You can book trips to the app. You can find different trips to the app. But it was really helpful with just kind of looking at this and having this all in the app. You can also view this on a map to see where you're going, how long you're going to get there, etc. I think this is the one I did after I left Amsterdam, going to Berlin. And that was on a different train called ICE. ICE stands for Intercity Express. And like I said, they just opened this new line. Now, this is where reserving a seat was recommended, and you see it costs €8 to reserve a seat. I didn't. I just, just took it by chance of saying, I'm not going to reserve a seat. We'll see what happens. And turns out I could sit wherever I wanted to. Back to the Eurostar. So they have places where you can put your luggage, but there is enough space above the seats where you could put your luggage. This is an example of the pass that I had. So it was 7 days within 1 month. So I had a month to use it. Now it didn't matter what month it was. Like if I wanted to do it when I did it in April, I could. If it was October, I could. If it didn't matter, it just had to be used, I think, within a year from when I bought it. And of course, like I said, like you activate it based on what day you're using it. So now that I activated on this day, I had a month to use it. So that was one day that I used. So on that day, if I got to Amsterdam and wanted to say, hey, I want to go to The Hague, or I want to go to Haarlem, or I want to go to Antwerp or Brussels, I could hop on a train and do it. All I had to do was just hop on. And then like when the conductor comes around to check tickets, you just hit this button that says show ticket, and they'll scan the QR code, and then you can ride. So my first stop was Brussels. So from London to Brussels is a little less than 2 hours. Let me see if I can refresh this and maybe that'll work. If not, y'all probably gonna just be looking at pictures the whole time. Here it is. All right, so this is Brussels station. It was hectic. like most of these stations are gonna be. They didn't have much seating area, and they had like really hard seating. I didn't like that. Nonetheless, this was what I was dealing with. These were like the time boards, and a lot of people just waiting to get on the trains. These were the Eurocity Direct trains that I was taking. These are some of the platforms. You can actually see one now. Now, these trains were absolutely clean, absolutely nice. Like this was the bathroom, and you see that they try to make it like a woodsy theme to make it feel like you're in the woods. It was really nice and clean. This was my seat. I'm not one of those people who measured a lot of the dimensions of the seats, but I had so much space to do. That was my backpack that I take everywhere. The seats were comfortable. You had a flip down table to where I can eat with. So this is the lunch that I got at our burger place in Brussels. Fries are amazing. They do amazing fries there. The burgers are all right. But yeah, we moved along. Now these trains really did feel fast and like you were getting places. But this is us going across the countryside of Brussels. This is more seat, more just kind of looking at the floor. The floor is really nice. You can look up there. There's kind of the space where you can put things. You had enough space for, and this is kind of what the chairs look like from the side of it. And then I got off at Amsterdam Zuid. which is Dutch for South. So it's kind of one of the South international stations, which I really appreciated that I didn't have to go all the way into um, to Amsterdam to access the city. Um, but yeah, so I'll do the next one really quickly of the Amsterdam highlights. Now, Amsterdam, I liked as a city. I will honestly say they were a little stuck up there. I don't know what it is. I think from what I hear from people, like they really become like a tourist destination way too quicker than what they expected. So I think that's just kind of what it was. But here's a typical street in Amsterdam. You see the bikes are everywhere. This was a bike city. People on bikes run this city. Like you'll see with a lot of this infrastructure. Um, but here was me and here I am in central Amsterdam. If you're gonna come here, get used to crowds. Crowds are everywhere. That's just Amsterdam. There's the many canals that run through Amsterdam. I think they said there are like 20 canals that run through Amsterdam. So seeing boats and seeing just all these streets along boats are very common. And of course, the coffee shops are here as well. Now, I went on 420. 420 was not all that big of a celebration as you would think it would be. But here's Mike Tyson's coffee shop. Snoop Dogg also has a coffee shop that are here. Coffee shops are essentially where you can go and buy marijuana or cannabis. You can go buy pre rolls. You can go buy edibles. So they had edible stroopwafels there. But yeah, and you can just go in. It's like a coffee shop. You can go in and just chill and smoke a joint. But you can also get like foods. Like some of them will have food items there as well. But it was cool. And this was Amsterdam Central Station. So this is their central transportation hub. Say transit, like it's all kind of transportation here. So their metro system goes here. A lot of the trams go here, which you'll see in other pictures. You can also take here's the tram. This is the back side of it, so it almost looks like an airport. But you could see like there's not really many room for cars as much as there are pedestrians and bikes. Like I'm telling you, bikes run the city. It also was the point for if you wanted to get on the ferry. Now their ferry is free, so you don't have to pay to get on the ferry, and you can take it across the river to the other side. To and they have a lot of things on the other side of the water. This was one of the graffiti art is really big there, and they have a whole free exhibit dedicated to it. So here's some examples of it. This was a hotel on a boat called a boatel. But here's the street art museum called the Straat. So you see, you can really just get lost in here and just immerse yourself in a lot of this graffiti art. It was really cool. It was definitely worth it, the trip. This was the metro. The metro's all right. It wasn't really as expansive as I thought it was going to be. I took a canal tour with Heineken. So here's some of the boat houses that are along one of the canals. I always said like the Dutch are some bad folks. If you could take over some countries on the water and you can have a house on the water, yeah. But yeah, here are the trams. Now they had a really extensive tram network. Their trams went everywhere. But yeah, I went to the Keukenhof, which is the tulip garden. Now the tulip season is really big in the Netherlands, so I was treated to these lovely tulips that were everywhere. So it was beautiful. You even you could take a bus over there, so you don't have to uh, really think about it. It's not directly in Amsterdam, so you had to travel a bit. Like I think it was around a little less than an hour to get from Amsterdam to the thing, but it was beautiful and well worth it. And especially when you have a nice day outside, like I did. These are some Dutch mini pancakes. I literally ate them up within 5 minutes. They were that good. And this is also the stroopwafel. Now, I didn't think I'd like this. I loved it, and I brought some back. It's kind of like a big cinnamon toast crunch with a caramel inside. It was amazing. But yeah, here's the bus that you can take to Amsterdam. There's also buses that come from Haarlem and The Hague. So don't think you got to stay in Amsterdam if you want to see the Netherlands. But yeah, here's some of the metro trains. They're beautiful, clean, open gangways. You can run straight through these trains. Here's their metro system. Like I said, it's not really all that expansive. And here's one of the I've taken that train already. They had like trains that run around the Netherlands. So here was an example of one of them. The seats were really cushiony. And it almost looked like a private jet. They were really nice. Here's the inside of Amsterdam Central Station. It was kind of confusing to look at these signs, but you can kind of make it out if you can like really look closely at the signs. Of course, they have a terminal if you're trying to get to the UK. Of course, you got to go through customs. Here was another side of it. The station was really beautiful on the inside and the outside. It probably goes down in my superlatives, which I'll do at a later date, of one of the most beautiful stations I've seen so far. But here was the outside. Just look at it. It's a beautiful station. And here are the trams that just like pop out right there by it. Here's like how powerful the bikes are. In America, you would see this as traffic, but like this was like a congestion of bikes, like all in line. Like I love the fact that bikes here, like while they were aggressive, while they were fast, at least they were orderly. Like they got into the bike lanes, which the bike lanes were everywhere. They really followed the traffic signals. They didn't try to like go at a red light or whatever. Like it was so much in order. But you really saw this as I go down to the metro. I thought this was cool as well. This is like an art exhibit of the metro stations coming together as I was going down. This is their entire rail network, so the metro trains as well as the trams, as well as probably some of the national rail networks. Now the good thing about the Netherlands is that their whole system is tap to pay, and you could like navigate yourselves basically where you're going because the Netherlands isn't that big. So it was really cool. Like even if you go onto the website to look at the Netherlands, it'll literally say everywhere, every bus, tram, train you get on, you can just tap to pay to get on. Now you got to remember to tap to pay to get on, tap to pay to get off. And this was like a sea of bikes from this town. This is also like private toilet, well, not private, public toilets that you can go into. And this is kind of like created around the time that where they really like made the red light district a thing, so that you can have some privacy with going to relieve yourself. And I thought it was cool. This is part of the red light district where I went to hang out the last night I was there. And when I got back, there was signs pointing you to where the bus was. And I got on my bus, which the buses were also beautiful. They had charging ports. They had like all this really nice seating. And yeah, like it was really nice and how they really lined all of this up. But yeah, that was uh, Amsterdam. Um, Little tips for Amsterdam: tap to pay is best. Now remember to tap in, tap out. If you don't, they're going to overcharge you. Amsterdam Central is a central hub for everything, but you can also go to Zuid or Schiphol, which I heard that airport is like trouble for a lot of people. Watch out for cyclists; they run that city, and you do not want to get in tussle with any of them. Um, Also, this is another city where you got to hit the button to get in and out of the vehicles. So remove that. Uh, and we'll go to Berlin. So, like I said, Amsterdam was fun. I do want to explore the rest of the Netherlands, because I think it would be cool to go around other parts of the Netherlands. But yeah, let me see if there was another one I'm supposed to highlight. Ice train highlights. Yeah, I'll put these up. All right, so like I said, they had a direct trip from Amsterdam to Berlin. Now, regularly this would be 189 euro. Now, I want to say like this summer they've got a lot of discounts for trips in the Netherlands as well as with Germany. So if you're thinking about going this summer would be a great opportunity to do that. But yeah, it's also a full flex fare so that you can cancel it. So similar to Amtrak, if you want to buy that and you can't, and you find out later, oh, I don't want to do this, you can go back and change it. It's 5 hours, 55 minutes, so it's a little under 6 hours to go between the two cities. But here are some of the signs. Um, Albert Heijn is a great grocery store in the Netherlands. I loved it. But yeah, here's the ice train that comes up. As you can see, it really looks like a high-speed train. So you can see that's some of the seating area. They have chargers below. I don't know what these pillows were, but they were really comfortable. They don't even look like they have a lot of cushion, but they were really comfortable. But you see, like you have some areas where like you have some seats where you just have two. Then you have these seats with these tables where it's four to a table. So if you're in a group of four, these would be perfect for you. Now, I really like the screens above because they actually show you in real time where you are, as well as the time, what train car you're on. So, like, if you do reserve a seat, you'll know where you are. Um, you'll also notice that the announcements will usually be, the nationality of the country that you're in. They'll do so. For example, like they did it in Dutch first, then they did it in German, then they did it in English. So that you'll always know like what announcements are coming on, which is really helpful. Trying to run through this quickly. Also, it'll show you like if the seats are reserved or not. Don't sit in a seat that's reserved, and especially if you didn't reserve a seat, you'll have to look for the green lights. So here's an example. This was going from Amsterdam to Berlin. So if you reserved the seat, that you could take the seat. But since I didn't reserve a seat, then I had to sit in the green one. But because whoever reserved it didn't show up, it was free and open for me to sit. There's also places where you can hang a jacket, where you can hang a coat if you had a coat rack or whatever. Um, but yeah, it was really helpful. There's also a light if you need lights. But yeah, it was pretty standard. Now the trains here got up to 150 miles per hour. So they weren't as fast as I thought they would have been, but they still looked nice. And it really did feel like you were getting a lot of places within this. So it did really feel like a premium experience. And then of course, like if you've also seen in the pictures, there are oh yeah, there were some tulips on the way from here as well. Um, so it didn't really feel all that fast. But one thing I will note about the trains in Europe, they were on their own track. They didn't share track with freight. Like they had their own right of way with these tracks. And then like some of them will also like be next to a right of way for freight. But I hardly saw any freight trains. Like these trains were on their own. So that kind of just shows a little bit how it's different from America, with America always having to share tracks. But yeah, that was a good welcoming point for this. Yeah, here's more going through the Dutch countryside. I think this was when we were crossing from the Netherlands into Germany. As you can see, like it's fast, but it's not as fast as you would think, like the TGV or the Shinkansen trains. So then we got into Berlin. So this is one of the platforms getting into Berlin's Hauptbahnhof station. Hope I'm saying that right. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you see there are like multiple platforms getting to here. And this was like just the huge station it was in. So here's a video just kind of showing all the levels of the station. This station was massive. Yeah. And I think I'll end it there. I've got more to show, but like I said, I'm a time crunch. So um I'll take the last few moments. Um if y'all have any questions, if y'all have any comments, that I could go ahead and answer them. Um but until then, I'll say like with my experience so far doing this, and we'll do the rest in a part two. And then with the part two, I'll also do the superlatives because then I'll have time to kind of put that together. I like I said, I appreciated the fact that compared to Amtrak, the frequency of these trains were vastly much more than Amtrak. Like if y'all remember the Amtrak video, um, there were all some trains you could only do once a day. Some trains only came 3 times a week. Whereas these trains, you had so many options. And I think I have, and I'll show it within the part two video at a later date of just kind of like how many options there were with getting between these different cities. Like, but the London to Amsterdam thing was kind of like a learning experience to me of like, all right, with the busy routes, the really popular routes, you got to book that in advance. That's just no way. Even if you do have a year rail pass, you've got to book that in advance. Like you do not want to be caught not being able to get on any of these trains, and just left out in the sun. But like the good thing is that you're never going to be stranded, and I felt that, and you'll feel that. You'll see my pain that of German trains in part two. But I did experience a snafu, which I really wish could have been handled better. But hey, learning experiences. But also one of the things to note, I just really appreciate. I'm a person who really loves hubs. Put everything in one place. Put buses, trains, trams, subways. Put it all in one place to make it simple. So I really did appreciate Amsterdam Central Station for that. It just really simplified everything, and you knew where everything was. But also for the fact that Amsterdam is a really compact city to where everything was kind of like all there. But yeah, to I liked it. And London, I'm not in a huge rush to get back to. Amsterdam, I would love to visit again because like a lot of the clubs and the bars I wanted to go to were closed. So I don't know if that's just a European thing to where like a lot of things don't really open during the week. I also noted that Amsterdam shuts down early. They shut down at like 5ish if you want to go like off the grid, like and off the grid meaning like outside the touristy areas. Like because I wanted to explore the neighborhoods of De Pijp. And I walked around Jordan a little bit, but not as much as I wanted to, because everything shut down early. But yeah, that's just like things to note about those cities. But yeah, I would definitely say the Netherlands put on your list of places to visit. London, if you like, I would go again, but I definitely wouldn't. I'm not in a rush to go. Like I think Amsterdam would be a good starting point. Like if you wanted to fly in somewhere, like if you want to fly in from America, I would probably fly into Schiphol because you don't have to go through the customs of going out of there, which I heard is hell. But I would think like if you fly in, especially like if you're a Delta, like if you're a Delta girl, then I think Amsterdam would be a good, because I want to say they're a hub over in Europe. So yeah, those are some tips from me. We'll do part 2 at a later date. But huge shout out to everybody that tuned in. Once again, if you have questions or comments, please email me at transitequitynetwork@gmail.com. Also follow me on my social medias, Transit Equity Network on Facebook, Twitter and Blue Sky at Transit Equity In, and Transit Equity on YouTube. Definitely subscribe so you can be privy to everything that's posted, all of the conversations that we'll have soon. And I've got a show cooking up soon. So hopefully you can tell a friend, and especially friends that like trains to tune in. But yeah, I'll definitely announce part 2. I didn't realize that this was going to be a lot, and also am on a time constraint today. So apologies for that. But I will definitely let you know when the part 2 is coming. Part 2 will cover Berlin, which I absolutely loved. And if America gets way too crazy, Berlin is the #1 city I have in mind to move to, as well as Copenhagen, a city I didn't think I'd like, but I absolutely loved, especially transit-wise. So yeah, from me, have a happy National Train Day. Go ride some trains somewhere. I'm most likely going to do that because it's Embassy Day down in DC. So I'm definitely going to check that out because I've always wanted to go to that. But yeah, from everyone here at the Transit Equity Network, I'm Bacardi Obama. I will see you all later. I'll catch you later.
Every day, millions of Americans rely on public transportation to get to work, to school, and to essential services. But for too many, access to reliable and affordable public transportation is a luxury, not a necessity.
It's pretty.
These are the voices of communities across America, united by a common goal: transit equity. We envision a nation where everyone, regardless of their income, race, or disability, has access to safe, reliable, and affordable public transportation. Together, we can build a national network that connects our communities, strengthens our economy, and creates a more just and equitable future for all. We are the Transit Equity Network.